Before I became a big-time international world-famous race car driver, I was poor. I built my own cars. I put those engines together. I torqued them. I honed the cylinders. I'm a gearhead, kind of by necessity at first, but I still love those intimate mechanical details. If you're hardcore about the mechanics of a car, I'm going to give you a run-through on some of the most interesting things about our Volvo S60 race car. Under the hood of our Kpax Volvo S60, we find, guess what? A Volvo S60. The 5-cylinder engine is the same one that comes in the S60 street cars. On the street, it's making around 220 horse, depending on the model, 300 in the R models. In our race car, it's making 500. It's a 5-cylinder, double overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder, a modern engine, making more than double its capacity. It's incredible. We have an intercooler just like the street car, but it's twice as big. We have a turbo just like the street car. It's probably twice as big. And it's all attached to a custom-built 6-speed sequential racing transmission. We had to have it custom built because the engine is transverse. It's set in the Volvo sideways. Volvo does this really more for anything for safety because the engine is not driven into the passenger compartment in a big frontal impact. Let's look at some of the aerodynamic aids that are built into the S60 K-PAX version, the race car. Number one, we've got to use the air to cool this car. We've got a really trick hood made out of carbon fiber. A lot of work has been put into making the air flow through the radiators, through the intercooler, up through the hood, and do it efficiently. At the bottom of the car, below the intakes for the radiator, the radiator's on the bottom, the intercooler's on the top. The intercooler cools the air going in the engine. There's a big power gain there. The intercooler is enormous. It's one of the reasons we can get over 500 horse. Below that, this giant piece here is called a splitter. And what it's doing is splitting the air that goes above or around the car from the air that goes under the car. And this creates a ground effect. You've heard of ground effects. This is where it comes from having a flat surface close to the ground that speeds up the air moving between the car and the ground. The faster a fluid is moving, the lower its pressure is. The splitter actually sucks the car to the ground. And our Volvo S60 has a lot of weight in the front. It needs a lot of downforce in the front. This splitter helps accomplish it. Look, it's so powerful, we've got to brace it with, these are strong. I mean, the whole splitter is very strong, and it's braced to hold it up at the right angle. This is carefully measured in tech because the lower it is, the better it works. But they don't want it to be too low because then it'll get messed up all the time and racing will get too expensive. One more thing I want to talk about is over here in the wheel well, how we have the fender flared. And if you look, it flares more in the front than it does in the back. This helps suck the hot air out of the wheel wells. That's where we dump air from the coolers. That's where the brakes are being cooled. That air needs to be evacuated down the side of the car, not underneath it. Let's take a look at the suspension on the S60. Behind these giant brakes is a McPherson strut. This is the exact same suspension that the street car comes with, but it's with racing parts. We've got these very trick Olin shocks that are at least 4-way adjustable, maybe more. Giant brake ducts to cool these giant brakes. The brakes are pure racing brakes, but they're 4-wheel disc, and they have analog control just like the street car. In the back of the car, same thing. The multi-link design that a Volvo comes with on the street, but done with racing parts that are stronger. Probably the biggest difference in the suspension is that this Volvo S60 in the K-PAX racing version is a lot wider. The wider a car is, the faster it'll go around a corner. What we've got here is the wing on the back of the Kpax Volvo S60. It's exactly like a wing on an airplane, but it's upside down. So instead of trying to get up in the air like an airplane, it's pushing the car into the ground so those Pirelli slicks get more grip. On the back of the wing, this little flap is called a gurney flap or a wicker. And the race car driver from the 60s, my hero, Dan Gurney, is one of the first guys who used one of these. Looks funny, doesn't it? But having that straight up edge on the back of the wing makes the air underneath stay attached longer and greatly increases the efficiency of the wing. A lot more downforce, but it causes more drag, so it slows you down on the straightaway. But in general, the more downfast force you have, the faster your lap time's gonna be. Underneath the back of the car, we have another device called a diffuser. The diffuser is doing a similar thing to what the splitter does at the front of the car. It's using the air underneath the car to create more downforce. This is a very mild version because it's all that's allowed by the rules, but it's another way to make our Volvo S60 faster, try to take on those Corvettes, Vipers, and Porsches in the World Challenge GT series. Here we are in the interior of the K-PAX Volvo S60. First thing you see, this net between you and me, it's part of the safety to catch my head, believe it or not, in a side impact. This can save your life. Hopefully we won't ever need it. Right next to me is the cool suit, because guess what? In here, it's over 100 degrees. I'm fully covered in fire resistant material and I'm working my tail off. It's hot. Steering wheel, which comes off easily, mostly just to get in and out fast. The steering wheel has a lot of features on it, from a radio to a pit speed limiter to adjustments to affect my readouts on the dash, and actually a line lock which holds the brakes so the car won't roll when we do our standing starts in World Challenge. This is a real nice safety valve to have, and a drink because it's hot in here. We have the dash, which is electronic, has all kinds of information, but the basics are the revs, the speed, and a couple of the most important engine parameters, the engine temperature and the oil pressure. We've got shift lights to help me know when to shift. Very cool shift lever, big, sequential. All you do is pull that back firmly and hard. Don't even have to lift off the gas. The car does that for you. Gauge our switches for all manner of different things. We can adjust our ABS braking. We have a traction control, which we don't need because we have so darn much traction anyway. We have water-cooled brakes if we need them. We have more driver cooling for the air to my helmet. Luxury, I love it. And you'll notice the whole dash is redone in carbon fiber, which is for lightweight, but done in the shape of the original stock car. We have fire safety equipment so that I can turn on an extinguisher that will spray and fill the inside of the car with fire-resistant foam if necessary. And then lights, wiper if it rains, which I hope it does in tomorrow's race, because I think that'll be good for us. And the basic start, ignition, and main switch. This is my office. This is where we go win races.